full-on listening mode, it'll go back to my headset. I think that's sort of why, whether you follow Cardano or not, I think it was Charles Hoskins said that he's leaving the spaces for another tool because he uses Android, and he says it's just maddening.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they would make it desktop compatible because I can use better microphones and the whole setup. But it's unreliable. So we've talked about it. We might move. I want to keep it here because it's we get a different audience. We get people that are outside of the Gotchi game that come up and ask questions sometimes, or just listen. But maybe we'll do a simulcast to Discord or something. Do it so that it keeps going even if it fails on Twitter. Eventually they'll get it right. I'm surprised there's not an enterprise version of. Hey, welcome back. Is your hand still up? Yeah. It still is. You went to purgatory there for a second.
It's really buggy. I like the idea of Twitter Spaces, and I think that's what you guys were talking about. But it has its flaws. I hope they can work it out.
Yeah, I think once the Gotchiverse is live and we have lodges and stuff like that, this will be all in Web3. Sorry, I'm cooking chicken at the moment, so it's all sizzly.
These will be part of the archive, in my lodge. It'll be these old tape decks that people can listen to. It's oh, I remember the Twitter days. They'll be when you rent a movie from Blockbuster. It's oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. All the times that we got cut off in the middle of those conversations.
I know. It's they got keywords. If you say Bitcoin too many times or end the Fed, your space gets wrecked.
Yeah. I'm excited for this week, man. We have so many things coming out. It's gonna be fun. The stress test, new and improved stress test, is gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm pretty stoked for this stress test because it's gonna be smooth for once.
Let me ask: do you think because the stress test is in the middle of an active raffle, right? Say we do the stress test and it blows all of our minds. The last stress test was amazing, but imagine it's just highly efficient. They're talking about other they've hinted they haven't told us we're getting XP or badges or anything, but just to be part of the stress test. And they're also going to be, I guess, adding in hundreds, if not thousands, of additional players through some virtual stuff, whatever they were talking about it yesterday. Do you think that could cause, if it goes really well, do you think it can affect the raffle at all? Potentially more people enter because, we're all going to be documented. I know I'm going to be live streaming and then cutting up a video and putting it out. So it's going to be out there. Do you think that affects the raffle?
Isn't it a
100%.
Isn't it a different domain?
What do you mean?
Sorry. Well, the demos tend to happen on Gotchiverse, don't they?
Yeah. No, but we're going to.
Is it the same server, or if they move, do they have it tie into the exact same space on the server?
No, I think these are going to be separate. Set up game servers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably an AWS game server or something.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that curb appeal of the visual aspect of the stress test, just when Future was saying about getting the word out and live streaming it and cutting up videos and stuff. That's gonna get people's FOMO going for sure, especially right now. I'm sure a decent amount of people have taken profits off the table and are now looking to reallocate their funds somewhere now that the market's it's been crashing for a little while. And you could see Ghost has been just holding up real good. So I wonder if traders and other people that are looking to take profits will be looking at us for that.
I thought the same thing. As you saw, with the Coder Dan and all the other fellas, posting, look at all these percentages and, Bitcoin, ETH, and everything else. It was down 20, 30, 40%. And there was Ghost, minus 0.6.
Yeah.
It's what a boss of a coin. Oh my gosh. Or a token. Holy crap. That was Armageddon for one of those. I was getting up at 3 a.m. just to check my vaults. My loan vaults, borrow vaults, to make sure that, no spike happened and a big liquidation didn't happen. Hit by the liquidators.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is the most bullish price action I've seen of Ghost, ever, is how it's held up this last week. So that just bodes so well with all these amazing catalysts ahead of us. That we're gonna make it. I'm pretty sure.
I couldn't believe it. I just was lost for words, and I flicked over to Ghost Ep and saw the weekly candle had pushed up 69% last week. Like, what coins do that against Ethereum? It's incredible. I think it closed out like 30% off.
Yeah, I've been this month, like, this dip has not affected me at all. Like, I luckily at the beginning of the month, the NFT, the other stupid NFT market was really hot, so I speculated like crazy and I pulled out a whole bunch of ETH. But I also was like, I'm going to turn this into USD Tether or USD Coin, throw it into Aave. I bought more Ghost, more Matic. So like I had plenty of dry powder. So as things drop, I'm just like, yep, we're going on a shopping spree. So it's like being able to have that liquidity, which is something, it's sort of new to me in that sense, has been fun. But it's like just understanding that the rest of the market is like straight speculation. So I'm just like continually accumulating more Aavegtochi stuff. I mean, the tickets have been the main thing, but I've been buying more like just the cheapest floor humble parcels and not so many wearables because I want to hopefully win a whole bunch of wearables. That's the goal. And yeah, just stacking more Ghosts.
I think the humbles are kind of where common wearables used to be at, like in terms of what value they give you. Especially what you're doing with grabbing, tons of humbles is really smart because we're going to do this Chainlink VRF thing where we're going to engage the VRF and we'll find out what our parcels get. And I'm assuming there's going to be outliers on both ends. You're going to get parcels that, are going to have very little Alchemica for what they're supposed to be. And then you're going to have parcels that have like a ton of Alchemica for what they're supposed to be. Like imagine you had a humble and the roll's really good on it and it almost has like as much Keck and Alchemica as like a reasonable. And then you just get rid of your other ones, right?
So it'll be like portals again.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So do you think you'll be able to sell portal, or do you think you'll be able to sell, it sounds like it, sell land that hasn't been, quote, opened by the VRF, and then, like a portal, closed portal saying, look, you get what you get. And then you'll have open land where it's like, well, I ran the VRF and this is what you have.
Well, I guess what we need to figure out is what's the mechanic of distribution of Alchemica, right? Because technically you're allowed to walk on other people's land and just steal their Keck or whatever if it's being generated. So I don't know if I think the VRF, I don't know if it's like an unopened portal in that sense, because if all the Alchemica is being distributed, I know first off, like once we get to a great replenishment, it won't, like whatever was there will disappear if it wasn't used. I don't think it's going to be on top of function, but they have to, I guess, clarify that. So
are you sure? I always thought it gets added on.
I don't know. I thought it wouldn't, but I guess I haven't asked that question.
Yeah, in the GitHub, it looks like there's a specific call function that we can call to open the portals. And so I am expecting for unopened or unsurveyed parcels to command a premium over opened ones because you don't know what's in it, right? And it might yield more in a more sure yielding way, right? Like right now, it's hard to imagine how a 540 base BRS can make me more money than a floor Gotchi, but I know that a high yielding land will yield more, and an unopened or unsurveyed one might have that. So I am expecting a good margin there to sell your unopened or unsurveyed parcels.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be one heck of a VRF call to do all the parcels at once, to say that we're just going to survey them all in one blast.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, if I could keep it unopened, that would be even better. I mean, I have mostly humble and reasonable. I have 15 humbles, 17 reasonable parcels, and then 2 spacious. The humbles, I believe, are like commons, where the most liquidity is going to be there because that's your entry point into the game. So when humbles were dipping to like 70, 75, I continue to just pick up 1 or 2 slowly, just like kind of dollar cost averaging in. Because I think that in the future, especially as the price appreciates, it'll be easier to offload those because there's going to be more interest at the bottom end of the spectrum of people coming in and just trying to get into the game.
Yeah. I have mostly reasonables and 1 spacious. Yeah. This last auction, I tried to get a reasonable. I got 2 reasonables, but 1 I was able to get just as close as possible to the center. I mean, you couldn't get closer, in the land that they were auctioning.
District 1?
Yeah. So It's the second auction, District 1, I was able to score a reasonable that was literally beside the you can't bid here gray, toward the center. Now there is other properties that'll be in the center, but for that auction you couldn't get any closer. And it's also got FOMO on it, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's great. I think you're talking about it's D1, the inner wall, like that second inside wall, which is closer to the great portal. Because I won a spacious inner wall in the last raffle, and I'm holding on to that. Although I will entertain offers if they're in the 5K to 10K ghost range. That will go into staking and then buying another $10,000 ghost of. If I sold that, I might consider buying all like godlike tickets then and just rolling the dice. But that would be a real big bet.
Ooh.
10K worth of godlikes.
Yeah, how many godlikes would that be?
I don't know. I gotta get my calculator out right now.
I think it's like 200.
Yeah, so one godlike would be, what do you want to say, 80 ghost?
Well, right now it's 50, but I would drive the price up because I know there's probably like 200 godlikes on the floor before we hit 100 or 120 ghosts per ticket.
Okay, so we'll do 65. So you would have 153 godlike tickets. Wait.
Which would not be enough to like have a chance against Mark Zeller and his 5 katanas. All right, I'm going mythical, boys. That's it. We're getting boys and girls. I'm buying a whole bunch of mythicals. I will do that.
Yeah, that doesn't. So we're talking about 10,000 ghosts. So that's like 20-some thousand, a little over $20,000. Gets you 133 godlike tickets. So Dr. Wagme, do you know what the ratio is to win one godlike item? Like, what's the minimum amount of tickets?
To have about a 50% chance, you need between 500 and 550 godlike tickets. It's a crazy amount, and that just leaves you at a coin flip. So you could lose 40K USD with a little bit of bad luck. Which is why I will not be putting any godlikes in this round. But props to those that aren't.
Are you gonna join one ticket game? One ticket game?
I am.
Nice.
I'm doing it. I got one godlike, and you know that I will be, loud when if that actually happens to score one.
Oh yeah.
Everyone else will probably say that they were rugged and that I don't deserve it, but the chances are that I won't get it. I mean, it's a total lottery ticket at that point.
You'd be the second guy ever.
So there's been one to do that before?
Yeah, it was one of the early raffles.
Think about how pissed the whales must have been. Like, I would have been like, damn. I mean, it is fair, but it's like, I bought 600 tickets and this guy won and got one. Like,
I was doing some analysis on the last raffles, and I found a bug, and one of the guys that works for Aavegtochi as a contractor was working on the graph to fix it. But one of the strange things we noticed was when we got it fixed, I said, I downloaded all the data on the graph and pulled it into Excel, and I was like, there were some unlucky souls in that raffle. Because I was looking at one guy that did 1,000 tickets and didn't win a thing. I was like, how can you be that unlucky? I mean, most of the people fell along the line. So there's this line you can graph based on the statistics. And as people were betting, like, putting in their tickets, 50% above the line were getting some properties and 50% below the line were getting some properties. And then you get a few unlucky. But just because it is chance, there was a few people. And I remember one guy was like 1,096 tickets, 0. And I was thinking, oh, you got to feel bad about that. That guy needs a consolation prize.
Oh, man. I see that. I don't know. Like, we're probably having a raffle reveal party like we did last time. So I'm hoping that's not me because I don't want to be wrecked while I'm on camera. That's going to suck. But I feel confident. I feel confident. 2022 so far has been, like, it's only 3 weeks old, but it's been my year. So, like, I'm I'm gonna roll the dice. We gotta do it.
Yeah, you're certainly lucky because I mean, it took. I imagine I'm not alone in, a lot of beatings were given in the last weekend here.
I can imagine. That's why I don't use leverage whatsoever. And like Bitcoin, I have 2 mining computers, so I never even pay attention to the price. I'm assuming until it drops to like 10,000 and it's no longer viable to mine, I tend to not worry too much. But like if you're buying, like if you're betting on ETH and it just dips the way it did, that sucks. Polygon too, shoot.
Yeah, sad leverage story, family. I had to pay back some ghosts to pay off some Aave loans over the weekend. Not fun.
Yeah, I was watching or I don't know, do you call it Kidao or My Finance? They're practically the same thing. I was watching those vaults like a hawk. I was even watching them for a few other people, just because it was like, ugh. And you saw that the comment on Twitter that someone found a vault that was the 7 siblings, and it was like, they got 600 million ETH that's about to be sold, liquidated. 600 million. Someone drive to their house, call them, do something.
Didn't 300 million of that end up getting liquidated?
Oh, really? I thought it was 60.
I'm pretty sure that he continued for, was it 60? Right. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
He missed the first round of liquidation, but they caught the rest that's the story on there. But 600 million, that would have given you probably a $500 ETH or something like that.
It's kind of crazy if we think about it. Like these liquidation events that are happening are like sort of like the whole lore of Aavegtochi, right? So like this was technically like a great battle, right? The liquidators didn't win this time, but sometimes there's big hordes of liquidators and it's a threat.
Does that mean we're getting more gotchis? More ghosts of all the people who just got liquidated?
Yeah, they're Haunt 3 is coming, but they're gonna have to wait until then.
I wrote a tweet today that was saying, for all the people that, have gotchis, it was like, if they say Crash's build character, we ought to at least get some XP or a point of, experience based on this. Thanks for staying with us. And, here, if you're getting character, then your gotchi should get some character too.
Does anybody remember the specifics of the Taker protocol? We had an AMA with them. I feel like that was a way for you to borrow against your assets, right? Like your gotchis. So that would be like, we as, like Gotchi Gang, other than ghosts that you put into like Cheetah or something or buying leverage, your Aavegtochi's essentially safe unless you need to liquidate, your own assets for, whatever reasons. But with Taker DAO, I believe like that possibility then becomes like, oh, you might get your Aavegtochi liquidated because you borrowed against it. And like you made the wrong move.
Although, what would the liquidator do? In the current protocols, they, like cheat out, they sell half, pay off your debt immediately, and then give you the rest back as token. So, with a penalty, like a 10% penalty or something like that. But it's like if they got a gotchi, I mean, that's sort of the NFT floor problem of, well, this looks like a good one. Does someone want to pay, 10,000 ghosts? No one comes up. 5,000 ghosts. No one comes up. You can just imagine these things like like a real estate 2008 style, fire sale.
Just a gotchi yard sale.
I mean, that's kind of appealing, but that's like, I mean, I feel bad for the owner, but I feel good for capitalism. So.
Yeah, the downside is just that gotchis, I don't think, are super as liquid as, say a token is, like Ghost. If you had your Ghost liquidated, they would just immediately, flood onto a DEX of some sort on Polygon and then throw it out.
Yeah, I think though, because our market, like especially with people like Bearded, like if like say they liquidated because they needed to I guess liquidate this person, so they're selling the gotchi on the bazaar like a certain percentage under the floor. People tend to snipe pretty quickly in our community, especially Bearded. Yeah. He's always looking for like deals.
Yeah, I suspect that some of them have bots that run 24/7 to look for mistakes. Like, could you imagine all the mistakes in the last year that landed people some really good deals? Like people who didn't pull their ghost out of their Gotchi after awards, or they sold their Gotchi for less than what the wearable was worth. Because oddly enough, you can roughly know what your wearable's worth. I mean, you just go into the pocket of your Gotchi and it says right there, hey, here's what your wearables are worth, which is amazing because, I mean, no other place gives that. And I kind of wish they would do that for other things too, like realms or stuff like that.
I think that,
Does anybody know? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but just on the subject of like, just gotchis being liquid or e-liquid, I think that's going to change a lot more, like, especially as the game gets going and, we can get more and more better price discovery over time of gotchis and better price efficiency. And, like if you look at punks right now, there's like OTC desks that will buy punks, like no matter what, like around the floor. And there's just going to be a lot more, I think, liquidity coming into the game overall. And when you can understand better about like the full yield proposition of an Aavegtochi and so forth, and the market just becomes a lot more liquid. I think that's just going to change over time. Like you'll be able to flip a Gotchi more or less like year 4 very, very quickly. So just a little.
Most likely, you'd probably lose your wearables out of it. They'd probably split all that up, and you'd start to see piecemeal out there. Because I can't imagine they would sell it whole. They'd want to, but
I guess it depends, like which Gotchi. Like so, like Machine Elf, which is one of the uniquely astronauts. Or Terrence McKenna, if someone owned that. I think you would want to like keep it because it's so iconic. If it's just a regular like Gotchi where you're just like buying, like I've done that. Somebody put up a 540 DRS Gotchi. The floor for those was at the time like 1750 ghosts, but they also added like 200 ghosts of wearables to it, and it like charged. They put it up for sale for 1650, so I grabbed it real quick. I didn't sell the wearables yet or the Gotchi, but sometimes people just do it for a deal, or sometimes it might not matter if the Gotchi is famous enough.
Yeah, I did the same exact same thing during the last. I want to say it was either the auction or rarity or something was going on, and it seemed like someone was distracted, and they listed a 540 for 1600, and then listed it for 1500, and I was trying to get it, and it was going up on the auction, then coming down on the auction. It was like the person was kind of unsure of what they wanted to do. But it's like once it came back up, it's like snipe. Give me that.
See, I think this whole thing is going to get really interesting once we get bids, because those there are people who will just accept lowball bids because they need the liquidity quick and they don't want to wait on the market to react, or to like go into the Bazaar channel and be one of the 10 people like myself that's always showing what I'm trying to sell. If you could walk around with a little, maybe if we could do bids and Vicos, that would be kind of cool too. Work that out. Give
100%.
utility.
100%. The same issues like, over in Counterparty. That's why you get like just incredible like arbitrage opportunities and price and efficiency when you're trading rare Pepes between OpenSea and Counterparty, because OpenSea has wet offers. You can bid on things, you can get, in my opinion, like a smaller spread between buyer and seller, but on Counterparty, you just really like the DEX is just not as user friendly, and that like that UI like just ease of use for OpenSea just doesn't apply to Counterparty. So I agree with you 100%. Once you can bid on gotchis, you can make offers. That's just going to be game changer. It really just leads to just much better price discovery.
We should. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that absolutely right. The interesting point is that there are 540s, say, that I wouldn't touch for 1500, because one, they don't match a lot with my wearables, and not really aligning with the traits that I want for certain characters. So it's interesting that I would almost put like a plus or minus 200 ghost premium or discount on based on their traits, even if it was still just a 540.
I agree with that. I think we should, because I might forget this because I got kind of high. we should talk to the team and see, because Looks Rare eventually is going to have Polygon integration. There's no reason that we shouldn't have Aavegtochis on Looks Rare, where we can also earn Looks Rare coins, like the Looks token, and like they have a bid system, and the fees are lower than OpenSea. That might be an interesting idea that we should explore.
Yeah, and that's something we can do too, right? Like, I want to empower our community to make those connections and see what's needed. And like, that's the cool thing about like NFTs and blockchains. We can set that up too. And that cool point on top of that is, I think Coinbase's NFT marketplace is going to come live probably this year, and all signs point to them integrating Polygon as well. So that'll be a huge opportunity. People can buy a Gotchi with their MasterCard off Coinbase, and I think things will look really good for us at that point.
Have they mentioned, like, what was it, FTX announced the other day that they had a direct link into Polygon now, rather than heading through ETH. And so if they got that, we'd know early if Coinbase also announced we have a direct Polygon interface node.
Yeah, they announced that was their plan. That was like, the first like additional chain they were going to integrate, and that was back in September. They just haven't delivered on it yet, but hopefully that means trademark soon. It's coming.
Yeah, and then Kraken. One wonders if Kraken's going to be next on top of that NFT market.
100%. They're all going to follow suit, and NFT market in and of itself is just going to be orders of magnitude bigger than Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market cap combined. Where cryptocurrency was like maybe whatever crack, like NFTs are going to be methamphetamine. So we're just getting started. All this is just the beginning, and I can already see, like, right now, like, my Twitter feed starting to, just today, like, I'm starting to see some of the mainstream kind of like NFT whales that play over, on OpenSea and, play with the typical mainstream PFPs, like, starting to dip their toes into Aavegtochi. In the same way that they started to dip their toes into Magic and Treasure DAO and Small Brains and all those. Like, I can already, like, see a little bit of the first movers kind of moving into Aavegtochi. So that to me is a signal, like, within a month or two, like, even before the game's launched, this is going to start to get really, really hyped up and, start to really appreciate these small Twitter spaces, you guys, because we're going to be in like 100 plus people Twitter spaces soon on these Sunday hangouts. So just, it's been a pleasure, like, hanging out with you guys in the small group, but we're about to see a flood of the other clubs coming in, and they're going to bring a lot of money into the space. So, like Dr. Wagme said, and as per his name, we're all going to make it.
Yeah, and while we're spreading hopium, I'll keep it going. So I always like to make a little alpha. And so I met with CGU today, Crypto Gaming United, which has about 100,000 players that play to earn games. And tomorrow they will be depositing their gotchis in the vault, and they will be using the vault as their product to source their players to play gotchis. So that's what we're trying to deliver, is tons and tons of players to play these gotchis to make everybody money on chain in a fair way. And they already have 2,500 people that they've identified via personality surveys to be like teamwork and team-friendly players that they want to direct towards Aavegtochi. So literally thousands of players are going to meet people like us who are the market makers and these big Ethereum whales that are going to start seeing that there's a ton of value to be had here. So all signs point to a really, really exciting couple months.
So, Dr. Wagme, do you think, I asked Bearded this question, but I'll ask you this also. So the Goji Vault has 1,100, 1,200 gotchis. You have a ton of ghosts. So you'll be renting out these gotchis and working out deals with guilds. Do you see in the near future or longer term people being able to stake or give the Goji Vault their land? Because I would assume you need the land to be able to get the benefit. Like if you have guilds working with you and you give them the supply of workers, they could also work off of your land, and that could be another thing. Is there any plans for that in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we want to bring as much yield as we can to every aspect of Aavegtochi, from the ghost token to each individual NFT. It's not clear, and it doesn't appear that land parcels are going to have a lending function when the game goes live. And the more you think about, like, what does lending look like can they, break down installations on lands that I've lent them? And if not, can they build land? Can they just collect? Can I choose what functions to set up for them? And there's just a lot of questions on what would be possible, and if we wanted that. If something was set up like you can get an Alchemica drip, right? We talked about this as a way to like tide over landowners who feel like they were rugged by a delay. If you could do that, you could stake with us perhaps, and we could collect your Alchemica for you, but that's not super useful. But basically, TBD. Let's see what the contracts show, but I don't think we'll have something like that until at least the Gotchiverse goes live. And hopefully one of these Bible chapters drops some real alpha on us so we can delve into that and see what they are.
Awesome.
I love the product that you guys, you, Bearded, and all the other 5 guys have created here. I think it's something really amazing, and it's going to do wonders for not only the Aavegtochi owners, but people that want to start a guild, or integrate their DAO into the Gotchiverse are going to get this like jump start by funneling all their players into whatever available Gotchis you have to rent out. So it gives someone like CGU like a little bit of a boost. Because I'm sure they probably are going to have a backlog of players eventually that want to get in and play the game, but they can't rent them out because maybe their guild gotchis are all rented out, and so they'll have to look elsewhere. But then you have this great product where you have this constant reserve of Aavegtochis with the revolving door, where you can rent them and for a certain period, and then also the tokenomics of it where everything's getting redistributed into VGhost is really, really interesting to me. One of the points, I think it was Looking Handsome or Structured Alpha you guys had made, was the stickiness of certain Aavegtochis. And I think that's really, really interesting. That there's going to be I think we're going to see Aavegtochis break up into 2 dominant groups. There's going to be the more player-appropriate gotchis. They're going to be used for renting and farming Alchemica, and they'll have high utility and playability within the game. And then you're going to have the collectibles, the really rare collectible Aavegtochis that may not get rented out, either because their traits are not ideal for farming, or because they're just so rare that nobody wants to let them go and slip out of their hands. And so you're going to have these diamond-handed Aavegtochis as well. So it'll be interesting to see which Aavegtochis shake out into which different groups. But it's already pretty obvious. Like a lot of the rare Aavegtochis are never going to be super competitive on a collectible basis, but they'll be more competitive on a playability basis. So having something like a Goji Vault with all these different Aavegtochis, where you can rent them out, is going to be a huge asset to the game as it's jumping off.
Can you imagine someone renting Felon?
I mean, these Gotchi owners have a price, man, right? Like, if you could rent, I'm sure Felon would consider renting it out for 100 gilts an hour, while he's sleeping at night or something. And, you can go live your fantasy as Felon for a bit. And I don't know. I think, we're going to see cool Gotchis rented out for a price. And the cool thing about this blockchain and interoperability and these projects are, we can create whatever we want. There's going to be cool, some SDK parts. I might be able to set up a Goji Vault bank where you can just go and it feels like you're just depositing your Alchemica, but it automatically goes into VGhost for you. The possibilities are endless for what we can do. And it also brings up all the opportunities for smaller asset holders to be on the same plane. If you have one Gotchi, you can put it in the vault, and then with collective bargaining, you're going to get just as good a returns as someone that has 150 Gotchis in there. And we're going to be able to maximize efficiency and maximize the amount of players that we can have in the ecosystem. And it's just the building tools, the tools that are being made, it's showing all the value to having a blockchain-based game. It's going to be more exciting.
I think you've just invented a neologism meme there, Dr. Wagney. The Galt. G-U-H-L-T. There you go. You can have a new website.
The Galtor.
Galtor. That's a good one.
Yeah, with the level of the number of Gotchis that the Goji Vault's going to actually be holding, it'll be interesting to see your analytics eventually, because you're going to be able to look at these Gotchis once we know more about the Gotchiverse and through the Goji Bible and the white paper, have an idea of what a value of a Gotchi really is based on its traits, its profitability in the realm. It'll be interesting to see the analytics that come out, because you're going to be renting these things. So there should be a ranking system of some sort where it's okay, I need this Gotchi to be specific to this. And, you can do filtering searches and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to play with all that information.
Yeah, and then there's
super cool. Go ahead.
And then there's that VLT token, which, you know, I'll just say right now it's a valueless token, like on a monetary basis, but it's going to be this DAO voting token for the Goji Vault. And from what I understand, we're going to be getting weekly airdrops of the VLT token, depending on how many Aavegtochis and how much VLT we have. Is that right? For the next 6 months?
Right, yeah, 50-50 gotchis to Ghost, and it's split equally with like what percentage of all of the gotchis or ghosts that you have staked, and it's going to be around like 4,000 VLT dropped every week for 26 weeks for a total of 250K, completely fair launch. Like the creators or like no one else has any. There's no treasury. It just goes to the Aavegtochi community.
How many have been claimed so far? If you happen to know.
A lot. It's like 6,000, 7,000 somehow. I was sure that like less than 20% would be claimed, but the community. I think that shows you how engaged the community is. Everyone, or so many people know what's going on all the time. That a bunch have been claimed, and then. We're going to get another 100 in tomorrow. We'll have probably 20% of all gotchis in there by the end of the week.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've loved the interview I did with both you and Bearded, because I've been trying to spread that a lot on Twitter, especially to some of those bigger, like we said, ETH whales, or like the influencers who are looking for new projects that are more than just PFPs. So it's been a lot of fun to just like kind of spread that word, because it's such an innovative idea, and you know I can't wait to see what happens to BLT in the future.
Yeah, so I'm just looking right now at the Goji Vault. And so right now there's 1,334 Gotchis in the vault. That's crazy. And then you have 1.1 million Ghost. And then there's $470, I think $470 or 470 Ghost worth of fees that have been collected. So that's going to all accrue in the VGhost token over time as, you know, more fees are collected. So it's going to be like this circular supply thing. You know, it's like the circle of wind almost from the Ghost token.
I know we clearly need to create more revenue. We don't have many fees collected with how much assets under management we have, but that'll pick up. Hopefully, I bet some people will withdraw Ghost coming into the GVM auctions, and the little bit of fees that come with that will help too. But we're not making much money yet, but we're going to. I'm sure of it.
Well, I was just thinking, like, if you enter, I don't know what your strategy is. I've tried poking you guys for it, but I know better. So, like, depending on how you enter this raffle, the vault, right? Say if the vault secretly goes ham, buys a whole bunch of godlike items, godlike tickets, and wins like a katana, it would be the first katana that I know of, or godlike item in our ecosystem that would be fractionalized amongst every member of the vault, right? Because unless you sold it, it would be an asset under management. So everybody that I guess had vault tokens would have, like, you know, they're technically on a small fractionalized piece of that katana. That's kind of cool.
It's super cool, yeah. And then like I imagine a lot of ghosts would rush in because they would want to get a claim, you know, a piece of the profit from when it was sold. So like, how do we manage people trying to game the payouts like that? So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I can tell you pretty confidently we're not going to be going into godlikes. We just didn't have enough friends to make that worthwhile. But doing some early calculations with what we have now, I think the vault could pretty easily win 2 to 4 godlikes per raffle in the future, and like that's pretty sweet.
So if I'm in the vault, right, and you win that katana, say, or you know, a future katana, would I be able to use an image of the katana in my PFP since I'm a fractionalized owner of this very expensive asset?
I don't think you'd be able to get the hexagon katana up there, but I mean, you can right click and save it and say it was yours.
Okay, that's what my plan was. All right, cool. It'll be like one millionth of a pixel to represent the actual value of like what I own in that katana.
I mean, I know you've been thinking about that 1 millionth of a pixel fractionalization a lot.
I'm not going to go into that today.
Dr. Wegme, how do you foresee the rarity contests going with the Goji Vault?
Yeah, as far as for rarity farming, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so you can always take your Goji out and put it back in, right, within 24 hours. So that means you could dress it, undress it, get it ready for rarity farming. And it should be easier. Like someone like me, I have 167 Gotchis, right? So like going in and manually collecting my payouts each time is a bitch. But we're going to build a tool where all of your winnings are extracted for you and pulled into one thing and put into vGhost. And this isn't tax advice, right? But this would be done by the protocol, not by you. So rarity farming could then be not be a taxable event as part of your deposition in the vault. So I just trying to remove a lot of the friction and work is our goal, but I don't think it's going to impact rarity farming too much. If we do start to see that we have a lot of unsold mythicals and godlikes, we might be able to talk to the community about, if we dressed up your guy right now, you would make this much more. We'll rent it to you, and then you give half of the proceeds to the vault. So that goes into vGhost, and then you win also as being a member of the community. So there's cool things we'll be able to do once we have a lot there, and we have some analytic tools so we can identify who would benefit the most and basically get free Ghost and then share the profits. So cool things down the road, but it'll be a little while. I don't know if we'll have the power for season 3.
Yeah, so for season 3, I guess it'll just be keep everybody alerted on the countdown, that you've got to get it out before the snapshot.
No, you don't have to take it out.
You
can leave it there. Remember, the payouts go to your Gotchi's pocket, and so you don't have to do anything. And
okay, I didn't know if you had to bring it out.
No,
any way.
You leave it there.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, honestly, that was kind of a worry of mine that you need to bring it out and then wait for that and then slide it back in to the vault afterwards. But that's great if it counts as Goji Vault is one owner with 1,000 plus Gotchis right now, if that's how Aavegtochi sort of system sort of treats it.
Right. Yeah. You can leave them there. You'll get your payout. It'll be in your Gotchi's pocket like it always has been, but it might be in there as vGhost for you.
So the Goji Vault then also likely be a huge player in the GVM auctions, I'm assuming, right? Because if you could jump into the GVM, I don't know, the more liquidity I see to have in these auctions, the lower my return, which kind of makes sense because I have to deploy it. But I would assume that the Gotchiverse with over 1 million ghosts would be, heavily involved in GVM, since they might be able to earn anywhere from 5 to 20%, depending on how, effective your strategy is executed.
No, so I want to be pretty clear about this. That will not be the case. And none of us vault managers, the vault can't touch your ghost. We can't do anything with it, sell it. We can only touch your friends. That's what we're managing. Sorry, we have no plans to enter your funds into the GVM auction. I know personally that's a big source of income for me. And so I'll have to withdraw my funds and then enter them in the GVM auction and then put them back in and eat the 0.5% fee. But we as the vault will not be doing that. And I think that would be pretty risky for people if, I accidentally bought hundreds and hundreds of parcels with their ghost because I was wrong about the price points.
Okay, that's good to know. I would know because I feel confident in you guys. So I was like, I would drop part of my bag in to let you guys do that, because if that kind of return can happen to, because of the volume of ghosts that you guys command. But that makes sense not to take that risk. I'll just do the risk on my own then. Fine.
I think Dr. Wegme got another meme out there. Goji Vault, we can only touch your friends.
Yes.
Dr. Wagner, how does getting XP work? Since isn't that to your wallet instead of don't you put in your wallet into the type form?
Yeah, so we'll be voting on everything, and they'll appear like they're in the contract address, and so they will, because we voted as the vault, they will always get XP. What they wouldn't get XP for is if there's an arcade event and they needed to rank, or this very special Ethereum-based vote that's coming up tomorrow. But all the other votes will be showing up to the events, and so we'll put that
or
in.
XP events too.
Yeah, and so you don't have to put in your address, but it still could be worth doing, because what if you happened to withdraw him to play or dress him up at the second that the XP was sent out? So it's still reasonable to put in your own address, but you don't have to.
Well, if you put in your own address and your Gotchi's in the vault, wouldn't you have to keep your Gotchi out until the XP is received, put it back in so you make sure to get the XP? Or I'm just confused on how that's going to work.
Yeah, so the vault is voting, and so if it's deposited in the vault it'll get.
But just say like XP events. I get the like voting because like the DAO address will. Right. That makes sense. But like just for like XP events or like I mean you have to take it out and like play with the mini game anyways. But yeah, those are the two ways that I'd see like kind of a hiccup. But.
Yeah, the XP events with the type form shouldn't be a problem because we are putting in the type form address for all the gotchis. If there's XP this weekend for the stress test on the 28th, then we wouldn't be getting that XP for you, right? Because it won't appear that your gotchi is logged in. It's like I'll need to sit there for hours and one at a time put all of my gotchis in the stress test because maybe there'll be XP and make sure to do that yourself too.
Right. So the type form will clear like all the XP, like so someone will just make sure that they're getting the XP, and then any specific stuff like the stress test or like a mini game, you'll have to take your gotchi out and physically play with it or interact with it in whatever way you need to.
Correct, and we'll try hard to make that clear in our Discord channel. And if questions come up, always feel free to pop on there and ask, and we'll answer.
Sounds good.
That type form XP, that's worth staking or depositing your gotchi. Because it's like sometimes I'm elsewhere and can't be there. So that's perfect.
Well, your gotchi will be in attendance, and that's what really matters. I mean, we'll miss you too, but your gotchi will be there.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally worth it. I mean, did you have a petting service? Totally worth it. And then all of a sudden, now your gotchi will be in attendance to all these events you might not be able to be there for.
Yeah, well, I don't want to come and do the whole time. I'm going to have to step out, but always feel free to shoot me a DM either on here or on Discord, or check us out on GotchiVault.com if you haven't already. But it's always a pleasure doing these. I'm super grateful to have this crew, and I'll definitely not take for granted the times where we have 30 people instead of 300. It's coming soon.
I'm looking forward to that 300 because I'm going to become the spotty Wi-Fi of the Aavegtochi universe. Yeah. So remember me before I'm too big.
Yeah, we're grassroots right now, so that doesn't last forever. But I appreciate you.
So like punk rock.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dr. Wagme, coming on here and sharing all this with us too. It's always good, and every person that comes up on here, whether you're new and you just have questions or whatever, you're always adding to the conversation, and that's always appreciated too. So.
Yeah, your knowledge is always a good brain buster.
But I wanted to touch on this upcoming stress test that we got coming up. Like, I'm pretty stoked for this because last time my gotchi was like laggy as fuck. Like, it was all over the place. Like, I got maybe like 20 minutes of playtime out of the 3 hours because my computer kept freezing and. With the hearts, like they would just be floating there, and I would get there, and then there was like a few gotchis that, for whatever reason, were like super fast, so they could pick up all the alchemic up. But I'm hoping it'll be better this time.
When I was making my the video about the Gotchiverse, because I had the live stream where it was very laggy, but I went in like maybe an hour or two later, and it was super smooth. But there was only like 100 people in there, like still running around, so it was when it was smooth, when it wasn't overdone, it wasn't bad. But I would love to see them do their drops, like the Alchemica drops, so that we can do little mini games and maybe win stuff. Do projectiles, and then just be able to like do it randomly. Like what they did last time was dope. Like imagine randomly in the Gotchiverse they can just launch quests if you're there, and it's like, hey, we're gonna drop 5 common items all over the map, scavenger hunt, go. Like that would be dope. Like I dig that.
Well, that's what it felt like after it ended, and everybody disappeared, and it's like for what was it, 1 or 2 more, 3 more days? It was, you could go in there and there'd be like you said, just 10 people, 2 people wandering around doing stuff. I think I accidentally came in on there when they were having a media thing because they had a formation, and it looked like it looked like all the Coder Dan and all the other guys were in there in a little spot, and you just get some looky-loos like me going, what's going on here?
Well, it's cool because at least you're dressed the same, right? If you were walking up with like a cool cat, everybody'd be like, what? But you're a Gotchi. They're like, hey, what's up, guy? Yeah, because when I went in and was doing my video, I was running around with my Music City Gotchi gang, Gotchi, which is like a 553 Gotchi I bought off the bazaar for like a steal, and then dressed it up so now it's like 610 or something like that. But I was like wandering around and people kept following me, so I was like trying to like improvise this video while I was walking around in the realm because I had to keep it under 2 minutes for Twitter, and like just like trying not to focus on this person who's just following me around the realm like while I'm trying to like give a tour.
You need we can, you can say little words. It's like, you need the, do you mind?
Sir, please.
Step off.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting because I just noticed this actually. We got one stress test on January 28th, and then we have a second one mid-February. So, like, over the next, 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to see 2 stress tests, actually. And the second one, stress test number 3, is particularly interesting because it's actually like they call it an area of interest. So I think that's going to be like a piece of the actual map, which is going to be really, really interesting to see.
It could be Pixel Craft Square. That would be very interesting. I wish, like, I'm being greedy, but I wish the stress test was on the 30th because then I could be walking around potentially with that sus butterfly that I won. But I'm going to have to wait until Valentine's Day when they'll probably do the second stress test.
Yeah, we know you'd walk around with a katana and a sus butterfly.
I would definitely walk around with a katana and a sus butterfly.
Yeah, that would be a dope combo. But I feel like the sus butterfly has as much character as like the Raffle. Like I can't think of any other pet that has, this character that a Raffle would have. Like you could have that in a story, you could have that, it's just like its own thing. And the other pet wearables they never struck me the same way as a Raffle did. Like a foxtail or like a cactus, it doesn't get me hyped up as much as a Raffle does. But that sus butterfly, man, I'd add that to that group for sure.
So it'd be cool to see how it like in the Gotchiverse how it works.
Get you hyped up.
Yeah, because that sus butterfly right now is over the shoulder, right? So I could see that in the realm, but it'd be cool if it was like off a little bit, not instead of right above the shoulder, but more to the left or right. But it's definitely gonna have its own movement. It's kind of like the Raffle.
Yeah, it's like following you around essentially.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they interact in the realm, like what the different attributes are. If like something defends you, or use that as kind of like a Pokemon or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. Just interesting to see how like all the wearables like relate to like traits in the realm and how they like animate and interact. It's gonna be really fun.
I think that's one thing I never really considered till now. The pets are gonna have their own like attacks and shit. So like that's gonna be interesting. You can like send your Raffle off to like attack.
Yeah, no, well, I'm speculating the cactus might be for like defense, like my like a liquidator or something, but obviously not confirmed.
Yeah, I mean we could probably get hints from the trait buffs or debuffs that it does. So like if someone says this is a low energy, like if a low tier Raffle is low energy, low spookiness, or I don't know. I mean, someone's got it pulled up, they can know. Based on that, one would probably imagine that if you're going for lower energy or lower aggression, that you're right, it might be either a defense or a healing.
Well, so it's +1 brain, -1 spookiness. So minus spookiness would be higher evasiveness, and then the brain would be higher accuracy, lower firing rate. I know Zevot, I think we talked about this before in like the chat during one hangout, that it was like might be like a peyote cactus, so it might be like a psychedelic.
That would be dope.
So if you're increasing your brain and like spookiness, I think he might be playing more on that. So I'm interested to just see what that turns out to be. I mean, yeah.
Master Yin, Master Yang, are either of you going to NFT.lane? Or anybody else up on stage, I guess, at this point?
No, dude, but you shouldn't, tempt Master Yang. He might pull last minute.
I'm thinking about buying a ticket.
I don't think I'm going to be able to make it unless someone's paying for me to go. To be honest, at this point.
Yeah, I could.
My money to go out.
Yeah, I petitioned, but that has not gone well.
They wanted you as like a media person, right? No futuristic potentially.
We've talked about it, but there's like I've asked some questions. Like I messaged Web about it. I'm just waiting because they're still figuring it out. But like at this point, ETH is tanked enough that I could buy the ticket and it's not like a big hit. Like,
Right.
but I need to be able to, I'm trying to find out because they were talking about having a Gotchi wing, like like at least even if we don't get a deal, like a group of rooms that all the Gotchi gang is going to be at. So I need to know where that is, and then booking a flight, which from Nashville is weird because I usually take Delta, and I was looking at flights yesterday, and even this far in advance, it's going to be like $800 round trip, and I have to go somewhere else to get there. Yeah, like I have to go to like Atlanta or New York before I can go to Vegas. I guess I could try to check other airlines, but
I was looking to go in like California early February. It was like $400 round trip.
Yeah, see, I'll do that. But I was looking at the Caesars where the actual conference.
Might be able to fly in somewhere like a little bit further away from just like directly into Las Vegas and then like drive it. Might be cheaper. I don't know.
I don't drive, so I got to get directly to wherever I am and then take a cab.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm going to be a child for because I was looking at the dates. I was like, the rooms are relatively cheap in the conference hotel. It's like $118 a night. So I was going to go and stay for a whole week, just to be in a casino because that seems fun. But I just need more information from the team and then I'll go. If I can get a media pass, I'll do it. Aavegtochi was trying to come with me and like kind of produce like a documentary almost. But we pitched the idea to
stuff or.
Yeah, he does a lot of videography, and he's done like documentary stuff. So it would be us like in the conference interviewing the teams, our team, just whatever. Probably me in a casino doing stupid things.
Yeah,
lots of freestyling and probably a lot of weed. It's gonna be a lot of weed.
So is it confirmed that there's a Gotchi booth?
Wait a second.
Is it confirmed that there's like a Gotchi booth and the team's gonna be out there and stuff like that?
They haven't confirmed it.
On it though.
They're working on it. They haven't confirmed it. Like they're working on getting like I know Webb has said he's probably going to go. Jesse's in America, so he could go. Gravy could probably go because he's in America. I don't know if he will. I think Dr. Wagley said he's going. Bearded might be going, but they might be just going on their own. So I believe they're trying to work it out to get a booth and everything, but I'm still waiting on details. So I don't want to book the trip other than to just be a degenerate. Until I know that we're doing it.
I mean, it seems like NFTs are pumping, so the conference should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun, but it's also like I just going to like I went to NFT NYC and that was fun. I've never been to Vegas, and it's like I could just go to Vegas and skip the conference because NFT NYC was interesting, but it was a lot of shilling. It wasn't a lot of like people talking about the future. It was talking like Budweiser and Pepsi coming up and being interviewed by Gary Vee and them talking about getting into the space and doing their cash grabs. And basically, when he interviewed them,
so novice. The space is still so novice. We're still at the cash grab, like influencer, like 10K PFP bullshit.
Yeah, there were interesting things. Like Microsoft was there, and they were talking about like they kept dropping hits with like images of their 8-bit like assets, like from old games and stuff like that. So I went up to the speaker and I was like, "Are you planning on launching a fully on-chain game?" Because he wouldn't say it directly. He was like, "This might be alpha," and I was like, "You need to look into Aavegtochi because we're already doing it." But he didn't understand, or he feigned like ignorance about the idea of on-chain gaming and like how 8-bit stuff.
Because they want to front run it. All those monopolies want to front run this shit.
Yeah.
But they have a massive interest with Minecraft, so it's like.
Oh yeah, they've already integrated a blockchain world into Minecraft.
I was actually thinking on these things the other day because I had kind of like an epiphany moment with the 10K PFPs, and I kind of group Aavegtochi into there, even though Aavegtochi has much utility. There's a lot of them. And then I really started thinking that, and some of the teams you kind of see like the emergence of this, but the ability to create ports of like the asset itself into these other worlds, while at least they're all siloed, is going to be, paramount. So it's like, I think that there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and probably it'll happen in Aavegtochi too. But just like, we were seeing with like World Wide Web and like the ability to port in what your NFT looks like and, being able to one day like write out with my ghost, in full 3D, and some kind of Unity, produce character. I think that's really cool because we're going to be able to like, port from world to world.
Yeah. Have you heard of Wanderers?
I have not, man. I have not. Is that in
You're
this
talking
thing?
about the NFT project Wanderers?
Yeah, they're on Polygon. They're creating like a hub that's like they're gonna have like Unity and like 3D assets. They just have some stuff on Ethereum. They just launched like their Planet Pass. So basically, the Planet Pass.
We're talking about the ship, right? The spaceship project, right?
Yeah. So they're trying to like port. I was talking to some of the people in there trying to maybe like figure out like bridge the two in the sense of like maybe having a partner parcel or even like a partner planet for Aavegtochi in there. Because they're trying to like, so you'd be able to like go from place to place and like earn like stamps and get like whitelists and stuff for these planets. And so you're able to like drop NFTs for different times for attending. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. They went really heavy on like the storyline. Cool art.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Like I'll check it out for sure. And like I think that like the worlds that actually create a standard and make it easy for
the
developers to bridge into their metaverse.
Yeah, I've got
really
to doing that in like spades.
Yeah, and
like
like
at least in the Gotchiverse, it's supposed to be with the SDK.
yeah, I was gonna say like I'm assuming maybe it's on the roadmap, but that'll be a big moment when like we have other people from outside worlds in the Gotchiverse like rendered the same art style as Aavegtochi.
Yeah, I know during one hangout we were talking about like the Legidorians that were all on chain. So like they were like, oh, they should have like a ring on like a partner parcel or something like that. Like, because I think it's definitely like doable. I mean, especially for like all the on chain stuff. A lot of these like IPFS stuff, I don't know how they're going to be able to integrate like these IPFS like higher dev asset, like higher res assets. They're not like 7 kilobytes, 27 kilobytes, or whatever the size is for on chain. So I think the people that focus on being on chain are able to integrate, have interoperability, are the ones that are going to win out.
That's a really, really, really smart point. And there really isn't many networks that could even handle massive storing of all these files on chain. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But it seems like Polygon could be it if they can keep the wheels on.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been messing around because I've never messed around with ETH Layer 1 with like some of this PFP stuff. I've been looking at like Polygon. Yeah, OpenSea just integrated like Polygon. I don't know how recently, but there's been some like early stuff happening on there. A lot of them are still like PFP projects, but a lot of them are gaming stuff. So a lot of people are like following suit, and I keep going into a lot of these different chats. People are like, oh, what's your PFP? What's your PFP? I'm like, you guys don't know about Aavegtochi, and you guys are trying to get into Polygon. Like, these are like new projects coming into Polygon. So there's a lot of new stuff on the horizon, a lot of new devs and projects trying to like get into the ecosystem. And as more people do, they're gonna be like, well, Aavegtochi is like, look at the chain, like the OG of the OG on Polygon. So it's like, I think that's going to even play more in our favor because a lot of people are going to be trying to do stuff that Aavegtochi is like. I mean, who else is going to have a server that's a single server that everyone in the Gotchiverse can play on?
You made the point, which is like, is your NFT on chain?
Right. That's the
like,
big
thing. Full stop. And the only other chain that I know of where NFTs are actually stored besides Polygon, and anybody could add if they know any others, is Bitcoin SV. But everybody hates Bitcoin SV.
Right.
To that. But the reality is that these are the only two chains that are doing NFTs right, probably.
Yeah, the on-chain stuff is key.
Yeah, totally. And let's. I was just going to say. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, we're talking about all this like chain stuff and specific Polygon. So like, hopefully this doesn't get us rugged. But when is Twitter going to let us like verify our Aavegtochis? I want to be able to do that. I can verify my cool cat, but I'm not a cool. I need it though. I want people to know that this asset is mine.
I mean, like, if you know, like you can verify one of those like PFP assets, but like we're doing something completely different. That's a completely niche. Like if Twitter integrates it, sure, whatever. Like if you actually know what an Aavegtochi is and like actually know what we're doing, like it's not really going to matter. You might get that like social cred and a little bit of clout from it, but I think just from having an Aavegtochi and being OG, like and actually having a playable NFT instead of one of these IPF bullshit, like I could just change your back end URL or IPFS lost the data and you can't view your image, but you're left with a hash type bullshit, like. Yeah, I'm
even worse. They use a service provider like called QuickNode that I'm pretty intimate with, and QuickNode, like I guess, is just querying OpenSea, so like it's even worse. Like there's gonna be a day where like everybody's Twitter profile. I mean, unless they're caching it like on the client and or doing some funky juju on the server side where like they could still display an image. Like there's gonna be a day where like there's a bunch of like 404 not found like Twitter images everywhere.
It's happened on OpenSea before, right?
I think so. I mean, like a lot of these smaller projects are even worse in OpenSea, where it's just like pointing to like an Amazon, AWS instance. So, I mean, it's really interesting. I think we're early with some of this conversation, to be frank. And like I'm pretty, like I'm always impressed by like the Aavegtochi community because like it's just so far like ahead galaxy brain wise. Like they, Polygon's doing its thing. I hope it keeps doing its thing, but the fact that the stuff is stored on chain, that is like everything. Because like even just in this conversation, I just had a nice realization that all the data being indexed on the same chain is what's going to allow easy interoperability between metaverses.
Yeah.
It's like it's not even possible without it. We're just going to be like a bunch of like strung together like crappy metaverses that break and disconnect and all this stuff. Like there will be no standardization. So that's pretty crazy. We're just early.
That's what World Wide Web 3 is realizing. That's why they're integrating like all the on-chain stuff into their game. They're trying to. That's the play that they're going for right now.
That's interesting.
There's a few sites that have popped up as of late, but it certainly comes to mind that a service like an API service that says, so you've got an NFT and does grading on it, and you'd say, well, what's there to grade? I mean, it's subjective. The things that I would grade on is, where's that image coming from? Well, one, is it the original? Someone right click, create an NFT, and it's like, no, that's not actually a Bored Ape. That's just a copy of one. That it would just trace back and say, well, it is or isn't from the original lineage. And then the next thing would be, like you were mentioning, is it an AWS bucket? Or I've even seen worse, where it's like, oh, we're just hosting this on our website, not an AWS bucket that's, just some almost freebie website that they started. So, those images are totally going to be destroyed at some point once the money's not there anymore. So is it IPFS? Is it AWS? Or is it some no-name website?
Right. There's an IPFS too. Like there's a way that you can like change it, and then there's a way that you can like pin it there forever. So there's like different like levels of like how it's stored on IPFS too.
Yeah. So to me, that's totally gradable to say, you want to buy this, this artist created this really expensive NFT, and it's like have an API service that, charges and would say, sure, I'll look at it. And then it gives you a report, kind of like a Carfax, if you've ever seen that, where it's kind of saying, well, okay, the lineage is good. It came from the actual artist. Its permanence is, at this level. You could probably come up with a number of different other things like total amount owned out there, rarity levels, simple stuff.
Other percentage, like the floor, the increased percentage over time. Like there's a lot of
like if we, with that though,
project.
We go full circle. I mean, that's going to exist. It's a great idea, to be frank. But we're just going full circle again, where it's just like we need like it all to be in one place. Like, how do we get there? Which is like such a deep thing to talk about. So like, there's no point in going down it. But yeah, like a rating service like that, I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea. But this thing will go next level, and like that's why I'm like so like I hope I will be really impressed if Polygon continues to like take the load and pulls us off, and that would be like the most optimal situation. But when it's like all on that same layer and it's stored on chain, like all that integrity is there, ideally, right? And like that's like making me think deeper about Polygon and like which nodes hold what data and like can the data be pruned away and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Let me dig a little bit deeper for you guys here, for like even on-chain stuff. So there's a way to store like the SVG or the entire file on-chain, and then if you want to upgrade that, you'll have to like restore the entire file. But there is an actual way to like store the individual like pixel data. So you just have to like change like the pixel hue, or like whatever, like the hex code, so that you're able to like actually like store that on chain and like make that upgradable versus like having to like update the entire SVG anytime you want to upgrade NFTs. So that's like a difference between like Aavegtochi. It's something that potentially could be done because Aavegtochi stores the entire SVG. So if any updates are, which if you want to go for more immutability, like that's going to be the way to go. And within a lot of these things, it's like the choice that you want to make for your project, right? If you want more upgradability and people more customization, you might want to go to like sort an individual pixel route, or dare I say IPFS. Or if you want it to be like completely on-chain and mutable, might want to go something more like what Aavegtochi's doing, where you're storing the actual SVG, where it's still like upgradable, but it's like more of a cumbersome process.
Yeah, I would put that at the highest level. As they figure out more and more how to embed, really good-looking SVG stuff. Not just 8-bit pixel, but given that you could embed an equation in there, like an FFT of an image.
Yeah, theoretically, it just has to be under 27 kilobytes. So I was talking to like Zubot, and he was basically saying that like it doesn't have to be pixel art necessarily. Pixel art works the best because it has to be like a 64 by 64 like grid. But theoretically, it could be like an MP4 file or like a whatever file size of anything that's less than like 27 kilobytes.
Yeah. So it could be the coefficients of an FFT, and the SVG just draws it back out.
Right.
And this chat needs like mind blown like emoji. It's missing. I can't just keep.
This is a really good conversation.
Like 100, I definitely heard every other like time you said Gotchi.
I should shut up. But
yeah, that was very high level. I only heard the parts when you said Gotchi. Everything else was like soft.
Like whale sounds. Whale sounds.
I was like, is this
Aavegtochi is
This
actually
room's
inspiring a lot of like that, like this kind of thought, and like I think people that are in Aavegtochi, like some of the programmers I know, like we have like conceptualized like taking some of like the really things that Aavegtochi did well, and like we're by no means a big enough team to like create something like Aavegtochi, like I bow to that shit, but just generally like NFTs like coming to Polygon and inspiring some of the stuff that Addison was talking about, and kind of like how you can basically render off chain, and like that's crazy to think about. And it'll kind of evolve, but it's happening right now in Polygon, which is super dope. A lot of the cool experimentation right now with NFTs that like people don't understand, right? And they won't understand until it matters. And that probably won't have much effect on the price. A lot of people use technology and like don't really care about all the little nitty gritty. But what's going to be cool is when doing things that way solves really big problems that have never been able to be solved in games and in gaming communities, and in ownership, and in like all this transference of asset to asset, almost like this barter system that's evolving. So cool shit.
Yeah, this is a giga brain conversation right here. But I've just been listening to this the whole time, thinking like, actually, I'll throw this out there. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the value proposition of having everything on chain the way it is right now, and having all the assets available, as well as an SDK kit that'll be eventually coming out? Because my thoughts are, I'm learning to code right now. Like I'm a new dev, like fairly new at this. But the value proposition to me, as having all the Aavegtochi assets on chain that I can use, is that the bar to become like an indie games developer has become so much lower than if I was to create all those assets and make a game from scratch. So what are your guys' thoughts around that? We're going to get developer SDK and everything is on chain. So like, do you think there's going to be a lot of people who have like basic coding skills being like, I'm going to give a crack at this. Like, I have a cool idea for a game.
I think Aavegtochi is a good testing ground for sure. I think team has done a lot of like everything. They're trying to do everything right, and they're OGs in the space. Like, and I think when trying to like, they've already put in the legwork. Like you see like the Gotcha Heroes game, that's like they kind of were like, oh, it's kind of too hard to create like all this stuff ourselves. Like Aavegtochi already has the legwork. We can just integrate like the Aavegtochi as characters into our greater game idea. So I definitely see a lot of that happening. When thinking of like people that want to create like their own projects, and a lot of other games that are trying to create their own like characters, I think even looking at Aavegtochi as a source of truth and people that have been doing it right, and looking at like everything's open source, and just looking at like the community and seeing if like, oh, maybe there is some way to integrate what I'm doing into Aavegtochi, or even just looking at it as a guide for what you're doing is huge. I mean, granted, to Coder Dan and the dev team, all their code is like seriously like commented out, so anyone can really like understand it. There isn't really a lot of guides on this stuff, like in like the whole space to begin with. So to actually have that guide on like a lot of the stuff that hasn't been done before, it does give a lot of people a second mover advantage, but it also gives it Aavegtochi like OG status of like they paid the path for a lot of this other stuff to come into fruition.
I echo that like 1,000%. I think like two types of paths will merge. One is people building on top and within Aavegtochi, which is like, hey, the incentivization will find itself. People are playing around making games right now, but they'll find ways to monetize that game, either via the people's attention if it's a good game, or by charging Ghost or whatever. There'll be ways, but what he just said is absolutely 100% like higher level thinking, where it's like Aavegtochi becomes a standard on Polygon, and people can copy the contracts. Like we already see what's happening like with the Goji Vault, right? Like the inspiration of like people thinking on like, all right, well, how can I use these same contracts in like new and interesting ways? And then that's going to lead to like, all right, well, wow, like maybe I want to make my own like project that lives on top of Aavegtochi, and like it's this PFP character, and it uses a lot of the same contracts that Aavegtochi does. It's on Polygon, and like it's got this really sick integration like with Aavegtochi, and then like I'm living in the Aavegtochi world, and I'm this PFP, and maybe I have like my other metaverse, like whatever. And it's like to this standard where like, wow, Aavegtochi has solved a lot of these problems, figured out a lot of these issues from the bonding curve with the token, and making that
contracts have been audited.
Exactly, the contracts have been audited, by the inventor of many of these contracts, who seems to be lending his time, which is amazing. That's going to help the community grow. But Aavegtochi is becoming like this like standard game that can maybe like spur this whole like innovative like ecosystem on top of Polygon. That's all nice and integrated, and Aavegtochi is the leader and like the center and the standard, and that is really really crazy if that happens, because I mean at that point our bags will be too heavy, rather too light for anybody to hold.
I mean, so if you think about it, you look at like, so most of the eyes are on OpenSea right now for NFTs, right? Some of the main games that you can buy on OpenSea. I mean, there's only a few games nothing like that's even comparable to Aavegtochi, and like people are just starting to get into like Polygon NFTs. So it's just like Aavegtochi is so much further ahead than every other project in the space. They've just had the foresight and been doing everything right and been just plugging ahead, and maybe not have put into the best effort in terms of like marketing and trying to blow this thing up and hype it up. But organic growth is honestly what I look for way more than just there's a bunch of hype and then oh shit, the floor falls out because that hype goes somewhere else. We're building like a strong like interlocked community that's going to help build this and like take it far, and like being OGs on Polygon, we're going to help the rest of the space like get up to our standard as well. We're setting the bar essentially.
Well, what's also amazing about this is like thinking about like we had this said, the team, I think it was Coder Dan that said it during the hangout, that the stability of Ghost makes it very easy for the team to be safe, like in terms of like the project. There's never going to be like, or I can't foresee a like huge liquidity event that creates like a like you're saying, the idea of Ghost dropping to 20 cents, it would like be impossible at this point. So it's like it kind
oh
of
my god, I was just thinking that, like, that's such a good point. Imagine like like Ghost got hit with like a 75% drawdown, and then like everybody just got slammed on that, and then it came all the way back to like $2. Like that'd be a freaking nightmare with everything that's going on, and it would really probably stall or slow down adoption for Aavegtochi. When you look at Axie Infinity's token, I think they got hit pretty hard, so I'm really just happy.
A lot of tokens across the board did. It just shows who doesn't have the security stuff.
Well, like I was here in April and May, and like when I bought into Aavegtochi at that point, Ghost was at 180, and then I watched it tumble all the way down to like 92 cents, and then recover plus some. So this time in this like much harsher drawdown, it hasn't been as severe of a drawdown for us, like even compared to that time, which like I mean the market like nuked when that happened, so it was surprising.
Aavegtochi follows pretty like regular 3-month cycles, at least within their charts currently. So it's like just based around like big events. They ship about a big thing about every 3 months, which hypes up the price. So it's pretty and it has like little downside like stability. So instability. So it really helps with like being able to time that, go in and out, time when like I mean, if someone's looking to like trade this as like a trader, obviously I'm all into like Gotchis, wearables, land, like. I'm playing the whole thing, not like Ghost, but like
well,
in terms of chart, it's like one of the best charts like in crypto, hands down.
Oh, 100% agree. This year my strategy has been just simplify, just keep it super simple, just stack ETH and stack Ghost, and the performance that Aavegtochi has done just this year, this last 3 months against these last couple of months against Ethereum is amazing. I mentioned this before, but if you haven't seen this, click on my Twitter profile and look at my last post. Shows the uptrend that Ghost looks like it's kind of pulled against Ethereum in the last 3 or 4 months, and it's kind of unique in the market because there are not many altcoins that are up against Ethereum over the last few months. I look at something like Aave or whatever, they get absolutely killed by Ethereum and Bitcoin. The Ghost bucks that trend. It's a really beautiful chart to look at.
I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think that there's just so much more potential for Ghost as it is on the upside. When we have these drawdowns for it to shine like a king, during this last just murder fest. I mean, literally there was just nowhere to hide unless you were in stables. Ghost was the perfect stable where had a lot of exposure there. So super happy with the way it kind of just really limited the downside. And then here I have all this upside to claim from this point forward as the game is going to launch sometime maybe this spring, and all the hype going into it, and there's just going to be. I love this coin so much, just because you get you get the upside. You don't have to sacrifice that, and you also get just that downside, in my opinion, really softened out in terms of when everybody's just dying and screaming bloody murder. Which, to be honest, I've been through much worse than even this drawdown. I mean, if anybody comes from Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've been through 93. Yeah, this is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually when I first got into Gotchi, I was feeling weary about converting some of my Bitcoin into Gotchi stuff from 52 like 60K. It was something like 57, around there. I'm feeling pretty comfy right on now. Just 2 pence a day, set that alarm, some wearable tickets.
No, I definitely wouldn't mind.
I'm pretty happy with my decision. I was like, oh shit, am I really gonna convert my Bitcoin right now? I mean, I can
actually just thinking about it right now.
Everything, but just a little bit into Gotchi, and that definitely outperformed any other decision that I've made.
Yeah, just thinking about it right now, it actually makes a lot of sense probably to even accumulate more ghosts. So just talking out loud, and also hearing what
start staking,
what
getting tickets.
Looking handsome was saying, with respect to his last Twitter post, if you can claim that upside against ETH or BTC and limit your downside when you have these weird periods of volatility, especially going into a uncertain macro atmosphere in real life with the Federal Reserve and so forth, I think it's definitely a no-brainer. I might want more exposure going into the spring to Ghost, aside from BTC.
No financial advice here, but I've got another. I don't know how Hefe did that with you're showing my post there in this thing, but I've got another chart. It wouldn't be far away from that one in my thread of the US dollar valuation, and very dubious kind of upward channel. We're right on the bottom of that right now. So dangerously close to $2. Hey.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then we have to think about Ghost being listed on Aave as well. So when a liquidation event happens like this, am I going to convert all my assets into USD, or am I going to put it in Ghost? Right? That's the other thing. I mean, I'd rather put it in Ghost personally, if that option was available on Aave.
See, once that's available, I'll definitely be doing that. But I do keep some in USD, because basically my rent for the next year is just collecting interest right now. So I'm not in a dangerous position of something that's going to. I mean, unless stablecoin markets collapse, which would suck. But that's why I always take profits and then bring money back to my bank.
Can't wait to be able to buy a house with Ghost. That'd be really cool. Just I guess to a certain extent, if you did buy a house with Ghost, that house might be a little bit. Yeah, it might be a little bit haunted if that were the case.
Just buy with a bunch of kek and just hear kek.
Yeah, will you take my house?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day when I can pay for a sandwich in Alchemica tokens. That would be dope.
That's
exactly
it's likely to happen. It already should. We'll get there as we consolidate blockchains, but you should be able to go pay one day with whatever asset you want, and everything should be interconnected enough to just within 15 milliseconds swap to the asset that the person that's selling you something wants. The end.
Yeah, I mean the tech's like getting there. Interoperability needs to get there a little bit more, but like then it's just a mental shift from dollars are what I need to I want this crypto because of this utility or this reason or this NFT or whatever it is. I was also going to say that like I think within like this downturn, later in games, especially like Aavegtochi, are going to be like safe haven, like hedge because of the user engagement. Because what the hardest thing to do in a bear market and is just to do nothing. It's just to hodl. And people can't do that for some reason. they buy high, sell low, and so there's just something to do and hold, and like you have an asset like a character that you're playing within a play to earn ecosystem, and just like constantly engaging with it, you're kind of like you're not paying attention to the rest of the market, and you're continually moving forward while the rest of the market's like 10x going.
I want to know, like, I know this is a random thought, but I want to know where in the Gotchiverse there's going to be like a red light district. There's got to be like some sort of like nefarious alley that everybody can kind of like group together and Where,
all I'm gonna say is Dick Down will definitely have a parcel. Yeah, we're gonna have a Dick Down will have a parcel and a gallery in the red light district of the Gotchiverse.
Look for the tiles that have a big dick butt or something.
Well, I'm sure
meme on it.
Wait. I actually have an interesting thing to talk about. Like, what about more?
What's perfect is
gambling or rolling dice, whatever. How do you think Pixelcraft's going to handle like that kind of stuff?
Well, we've talked about it before in Hangouts because there was during the game jam. They were talking about somebody like a Gotchi slot machine. I don't know if it was just like a meme or if it was an actual game that was like entered, but Pixelcraft said that they, for law, the reasons of like legality, they would probably not allow that as a mini game because it's a game of chance. It's not a game of chance rather. No, it's a game of chance. It's not a game of skill. So I don't know if they'll they're like think of like I tried to name a Gotchi crackhead, and when I did that, after saving the name, part of the name was like blocked out with like stars, so you couldn't actually read the word. So there's a little censorship. There's a little Web 2 that sneaks in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if to protect themselves that they would probably have some sorts of censorship. But Pixelcraft also plans to decentralize. So if they're not involved in the game on that level, there might be a Gotchi brothel somewhere that pops up or something crazy.
And the smart contract's already there to where like we can easily prostitute our late Gotchis from Hop 1. And like all of their earnings, like we can just set the percentage to like whatever 80%. It depends on what kind of Gotchi pimp you are, obviously.
We need to get Ben Logan to create a X-rated Gotchi like imagery for like a DAP, like geishas, and you welcome the Gotchi in. You pay a little alchemica, and they light some candles, and then it darkens, and you wake up and you're getting dressed again. You're putting your wearables back on. You don't see what happens. It's a cutscene, yeah, hell yeah.
Ben Logan can make a sexy geisha Gotchi.
I'm happy this is recorded because I don't have the skills to do this. I'm just an ideas man. Somebody please one day make this, and this will be the genesis of that.
Yeah, you have like regular petting, and then you can do like an ultra pet where you pay a little bit more.
Well, I assume there's just going to be like art galleries where you can like pay for entrance.
Somebody put a Gotchi on OnlyFans.
The NFTs.
Gotchi on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I saw it.
Some hentai. I think
I saw a meme of it, maybe, or I don't know. I think somebody put a Gotchi on OnlyFans. I've seen the graphic.
Yeah, so in the brothel, like one of the options is like the Gotchi gets pet, or maybe the Gotchi and the sus butterfly. If they're a little freaky, they get a little. The raffle can get involved, but it's a little extra.
Yeah, my friend looked up Aavegtochi on OpenSea. I must have spelled it wrong or something, but he said that there was just a bunch of porn NFTs when he looked up Aavegtochi on OpenSea.
You know what we should do? We should put up a post on Pornhub, and it's watch people who bought boosted parcels without doing research get fucked in the Gotchiverse. And we'll just put up like a different post from the Discord that week. I might do that. I don't want to get a Pornhub account though. That I won't sign up for that.
I'm just thinking of locations for your Dick Dow parcel, and I think you should really go to.
I have a parcel.
You got a big dick here right in the middle, like just get to the center.
What about
you have to buy a bunch of like spacious like in a straight line, and then like you need like two balls like at the base of it so you can see it from like Gotchispace.
So
two reasonably sized balls.
We know that we're getting tiles, right?
Right. Yeah.
Will the tiles be customizable, right? So if I have a big enough plot of land, I could put my own tiles in and then randomize it. So it's like, so it doesn't actually look like a full, like, it'll be a randomization, but it's like, this is the dick down. That lodge is going to be funky.
No, like they're gonna have to deal with stuff like that because people own enough land that just using pixels, like right, like different colors.
The first thing someone's gonna make is a dick.
Yeah, like I don't see how they could stop that. Honestly, that might be a problem.
I wonder if they're going to slip that into the chapter around estate building rules. It's like you can't build penis shapes in your parcels.
Well, what about on the erect parcels?
So you have to apply for a permit with the Gotchi zoning district.
It got me thinking, like, that's the thing, right? Like, Gotchi, like, as a community, as a brand, can be so powerful that, like, if they do block this shit, like, you could really just, like, take you and your posse and everybody else, like, and, kind of go create, like, a space where, like, your Gotchi is still recognized, because your Gotchi, you own your Gotchi, and that
it's open
Gotchi,
source, too. You can take your Aavegtochi anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Craft
It's
is
only,
only
like, a little
creating
club
the
where
Gotchi
this is allowed or whatever.
for anyone to create anything.
Yeah, and if somebody can get like enough, like, because that's what I've realized. Like, one of my biggest like lessons so far, like in life playing Aavegtochi, has been community building and like figuring out like how to do that and understanding like how much value is in it. And moreover, like how do I do this in like this new world and give other people opportunities and like make bread together and have a good time doing it, and all that has like cascaded into like all these different things. And so it's like, if you can create enough gravity in the Gotchiverse, like you can kind of leak some of that gravity out into your other planet, right? And like start feeding gravity out of Gotchi to your planet and like back and forth. Like it could be a two-way street, but it could be something as simple as like people just leaving because they want to create like, dick fucking shape, from space land and like, or whatever, or they want to gamble with their Aavegtochi character, like, and like with its stats, the way that the game fed these stats out into the world with like the distribution of like buying portals and stuff like that. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy because we might see some very successful people kind of spin up from like Aavegtochi because of like different things that aren't allowed in the Gotchiverse.
So this brings up another question. Do we think we're going to see pixel art in the tiles that is, or potentially paid for ads on those spaces? So you can imagine someone maybe putting a polypunk or a punk in their space in tiles that they either own or for sale, or
I think we'll be able to link out that stuff and be able to display that stuff. I don't think with them doing what they're doing, I don't think it all can be on like 100% like on chain. There's gonna be probably some off chain transactions. I assume. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure they're talking about like some aesthetic stuff and like being able to display your NFTs and like art galleries and stuff. So I assume so.
The more of it that's on chain, though, like over time, I believe the more value the game is going to give to those who hold assets in the game. The less on chain that it is, in my opinion, the less like value that can be captured from the asset holders of the game. So ultimately, that's pretty interesting that's thing to watch for the future with not just Aavegtochi but any P2E game. It's just that I think that like you're really gonna have value flow back like to the people, the stakeholders of the game. The more on chain that it is, the more decentralized it is, and therefore I think it's just going to be the more valuable the game is going to become, the economy is going to come, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, totally.
It's not only decentralized, but I mean, like it God, this is like some mind blowing stuff. Like it really is, just what if Aavegtochi? Wait, what if Aavegtochi becomes games like Aavegtochi become, at least when we find a scalable blockchain, they become the interfaces for writing into blockchain.
They will.
They are an interface.
It becomes a protocol.
Gamified social media. That's like a like metaverse. That's how
and like the more the data that's written in chain, like the more we can like index, look through it, use it, and like Aavegtochi, if people enjoy like hanging out there and like pushing in data points to the blockchain from there, whether it be like a game that they play or an NFT that they advertise or something, and all that data is written to chain, then it's mineable, shareable between like all these different networks. And like it might be better to do like a transaction through Aavegtochi for some reason, for some optimization in the futures. Like they become like through gaming, like people are going to start writing things to blockchains And so therefore it's like an interface or like an OS in a weird way.
Yeah, that's pretty deep thought, and it just goes back to like what I was saying also.
Has the feed become very choppy for anybody else?
Yeah, I'm getting a little anxious actually because it always does this like a couple minutes before we all get rugged. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity right now to say thank you all for coming out. This is like we're at our 2 hours now anyway, so I really enjoy these talks. Like today was like a giga-brain conversation, and like someone else had mentioned today, these groups aren't going to be 30 people for very long, and eventually we'll be enlightening hundreds of people. And all you in here that show up every week and listen, feel free to jump on up because like we get new people up here all the time. Structured Alpha, looking handsome. Thank you all for coming up and sharing some stuff with us too. Like it was really enjoyable having you up here and having this conversation. You're always welcome to come back up here. So with that being said, is there anything else you guys want to announce for this week before we jump off? Yeah, go ahead.
If I could grab the mic for a second. So I know a lot of you in here are Deegans, so we haven't promoted it too much, but this week we're going to come out with it a bit more. The 8-Bit Gamers Guild is throwing basically like a little fundraiser / membership event where we've kind of sorted out like the value proposition of what we're able to be able to provide in the short term as we wait for the game and kind of get like finalized on how some of the mechanics and the meta is going to work and whatnot. Come by. Let me see. I mean, you can go to 8bitgg.com. That's the best way. Easy to remember. So 8bitgg.com. And here's the thing. If you do buy one of the memberships and come out and support us in fundraising, we're throwing a raffle with 10 prizes. So pretty high chance that you take something home. The average prize is like 30, 40 ghosts. And we have land, 2 humble parcels in District 11 where we've kind of set up camp. And a bunch of other stuff. So really, really not much to lose, a bunch of benefits, and check it out if you'd like to, take a little bit of chance, gamble a bit. It's 8bitgg.com.
Right on.
Thank you guys as always.
Yes, of course. No future, you got anything? No? Are we about to get rugged? I don't know. But, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think he might have had to. I don't know what's going on with no future. But do either of you guys have whoever's up on stage? If you got anything, you can shoot. It's your time.
Nothing much from me, guys. It's been a pleasure. Been out the last couple of weeks, but it's good to be back, kind of like healthy, happy, and looking forward to the next month or two of endless speculation around a game that has not launched yet. It's our favorite thing to do.
Yes.
So it's great seeing some of you guys again. Great seeing some of the new guys. And like I said earlier, I'm just super bullish right now. I'm starting to see some like big whales that I follow, like tweeting about Aavegtochi, which just didn't happen months ago. So I have a feeling the next month or two, like we're going to be in an interesting predicament. So just pack your bags, get ready. Buy ghosts, get some more gotchis. It's going to be, with the Goji Vaults and things like that coming into play, and more tools. Like this is going to get absolutely insane, and it's going to be a money-making machine for those who were here early, especially, and took the biggest risk. So, other than that, you guys, I'll see you guys later. Appreciate everything. Good night.
Right on.
Ooh-wee. That's exciting.
Yeah, and all I got is I've been focusing heavy more on Twitter. So if you follow me and you're Gotchi, I'll also follow you back, and I'll be updating everyone from when I'm like starting up streaming again and posting any videos, content. I might be doing some like NFT meme stuff. I guess my followers want me to do that until the Gotchiverse comes out. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be just like giving those away to like someone who follows each day or something like that. So just keep an eye out. Hit that follow, and then I'll follow you guys back and keep you updated.
Yeah, nice. Gotchi follow. Of course, man. Gotchi follow Gotchi and Gotchi King. So yeah, we'll hang out again next Sunday, for whoever wants to hang out. And we'll see you all again. Peace out.